Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Well, this is going to be my review of the Rockhounding Oregon book set to release mid-October 2022. In short, if you already have the 2014 version, do not waste your money on this. Just don't buy it. You're perfectly fine with this. If you don't have the 2014, you might as well buy the 2022. If you want to hear how I came to that determination, stay tuned and we're going to get right into it. A good starting point, I think, is going to be a discussion of Rockhounding Oregon, released in 2014. In a nutshell, Lars went to all of the locations, give or take, in the Gem Trails of Oregon, which was released, this is the third edition, which was released in 2008. He reissued this for 2014, which has a lot of value to it, right? Like driving directions, road conditions, better photos, right? Like, you know, we got color maps, we got color photos in here. That's good. You know, that's an improvement over like the black and white stuff. Thumbs up. I purchased this book in either end of 2016 or the beginning of 2017. I definitely had it in 2017. And right away, I could see that there's a lot of mistakes in this book. And I'm not one to really get hung up on typos and stuff like that. And who knows, like, is this Lars's first book at the time? I'm not sure what his writing background is. So it's kind of like, cool, like it's good, but it leaves a lot of room for improvement. Well, to say the least, I was excited when I saw that this was set to release. Excited enough to where I contacted Falcon Guides and I was like, yo, send me a copy. I would like to see this. I would like to review this, because we have 8 years, right? So 8 years between these two. Man, if you have 8 years to work on something, it should be really good. Especially since the publisher lists the description of this as fully revised and updated. If something's fully revised and updated, that should be what you get. A fully revised and updated book. However, that could not be further from the case. These books are essentially carbon copies of each other, mistakes and all. Almost like there's no revision happened and very little updates happened. There are some minor updates, stuff that you could just find like online, like Richardson's Rock Ranch is closed to public digging, some updates to the Lucky Strike. There's just some like little updates sprinkled through. No updates to like road conditions or anything like that. In addition of like Heart Mountain, which like you can find that on Mindat. Like you really don't need a book for Heart Mountain. And one thing that I really don't like is that there's a number of locations in this where the GPS, right? The GPS locations he gave you in 2014 were incorrect and never corrected in this one. What are you doing, right? That's a huge, major mistake. The amount of private property he sends you to in this 2022 one is ridiculous. It's uncalled for, unnecessary, and shouldn't happen in a modern guidebook. So I went through, and every single GPS location in this book, I pulled the property records for, right? And I double checked it, okay? I did that in one day. I pulled all the property records. Now, I believe it's 9 locations in here. He says they're on private property, but it's open by custom to casual collecting. Well, that shouldn't happen. Don't go there. Don't go to any of the locations in this book that say private, but you can kind of go there. It's all cool. He provides no contact information for the landowner. Private property changes hands. That's what happens to private property. Did he go and re-verify it between these? It doesn't say that. So if we know that a lot of the information in this 2014 release was probably produced in the years leading up to that, so like 2012, maybe, right? And then Here we have this. Was any of that? There's no notes on any of the listings saying like, hey, I went back there and I found blank. Oh wait, you know what? Like this isn't good anymore. None of that. None of that whatsoever. You can go through these listings and they're just like, it's for the most part a carbon copy. I think it's really reckless to be sending people to other people's private property and to say like, yeah, go casually collect. What if that was actually the case at the time of printing? So let's say right now, all of the locations in here he says are private. The landowner's like, yeah, come collect the rocks. And then it goes up for on the market in the spring and changes hands. And now a new owner is there. That's printed in this book forever. That's so stupid in my opinion. There's also locations that he says are public, says they're public that are actually on private property. There's sites, because there's multiple locations on one of the listings. Like you might have a listing, right? And it has a number of different GPSs. Some might be public, some might be private. Why? When you can check the property records, you can check them so easy. So on the website, down in the description box below on my website, there will be an article and there will be a breakdown of what is actually private property in this book. So you can go check that out. There's kind of like a little more details and stuff, but I'm bummed out. I'm bummed out because I think for a lot of people, myself included, one of the ways you first start to engage in the hobby of rock hounding is by buying these books. If you get on like any single Facebook group about rock hounding, and you're like, where do I go rock hounding, everybody? The general answer people give you is buy one of the books. But if the books set you up for disaster, is that helpful? If they're sending you to private property, places you shouldn't be collecting, if they're dated and generally unhelpful, like the road conditions have changed, sometimes roads get better, sometimes they get worse. Fully revised and updated means you went back to all of the locations and double checked them today and rewrote aspects of the listing. You should put in there, hey, I went there July 2020 and this is what I found. This is what I found. That's not the case here. So definitely, if you already have this, right? I guess you could buy this if you want to just like throw $20 away, but you're going to be disappointed. If you don't have the 2014 yet, I guess you might as well buy the 2022 one. I mean, why not? I think rock hounding guidebooks are just done in a sloppy manner. There is a hiking guidebook series put together by William Sullivan. I think that's his name, William Sullivan, for Oregon. And the way he has it set up, this is just like the best way, right? He has like I can count 5 books for the state of Oregon, I believe. And it's like coast, northwest, southwest, northeast, southeast Oregon. And periodically, maybe the coast and southwest Oregon books get updated this year. And then the next year it's northwest and southeast. And they just like rotate, right? So every couple of years, there's a whole new set of books and they just kind of get released like that. That would be how you'd have to do a proper rock hounding guidebook. These books, right? They're scratching the surface of what's out there. They're just scratching the surface. You could definitely have a rock hounding the Oregon coast book, a rock hounding Central Oregon book, a rock hounding Eastern Oregon book, but they would need to go through them. When I went through and I checked all of the property records on this book here, I kind of was like, it seems reasonable, okay, if you have 8 years between your books to go back to all of them, all of the locations. I would have much less of a problem if the grammatical errors, the GPS errors, the private property mistakes were remedied in this. And they didn't say it was fully revised and updated, but rather they said that, not revised and partially updated new reprint. That would be the honest That would be an honest depiction of what the book is. Two pet peeves, which this is like very subjective. The format of GPS that he uses in there is kind of archaic, right? Like, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. There's different formats for GPS. I don't care for his. That's personal preference. And then the use of museum quality photos for listings. I don't care if this is the best sample from a locality at like the Rice Museum. Like, that's not helpful. That's not what you're likely to find. Like, you don't find a stream of museum grade carnelian. You find subpar, and then on occasion something really good comes from it, right? When I see in these books photos of the material from a museum, it both looks a little lazy, and I question whether or not they actually went there, right? Or so that definitely go check out the full article about the book if you plan on buying it. I had high hopes for it. I had high hopes. I was pumped. And it's kind of just a meh letdown. Well, hopefully this informed you a little bit. Maybe it saved you some money. If it did, great. I'm glad. Things are expensive. I'd rather have your money going into your gas tank and you're going out rock hounding than buying stuff you don't need. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming by, hanging out with me in the shop, listening to what I have to say. Take care, and I will catch you on the next video.